Good morning. Okay, let me organize myself here with the pen. So now that I've become like, you know, oh, good morning, everybody. I am IGN. I'm here organizing the pen. Grand Rising, darling. How are you? Pin comment. Yeah, I gonna make up because after the live, I'm going to meet a friend. Everybody's trying to meet up before it gets cold. So I said, why not put on a little makeup? I put on lipstick too. I don't even know why, but because nobody's seeing the lipstick. So let's get started. You know, I like to just keep it moving and get things rolling. Next week, Sunday, we're going to be talking about, well, I shouldn't really say because she hasn't really fully confirmed with me yet about yoga, right? Hey,
Peace,
peace,
greetings. Can you hear
greetings.
me?
Yes, I can.
I can hear you just fine. All
How
right.
are you?
I am well.
Good,
I'm well,
good,
I'm
good,
well,
good,
I'm well.
good. I just I made my second cup of tea.
Mm,
I'm
I
having
had, what are
dan
you having?
dandelion.
Oh, nice. You drawed some root this morning. What did I have this morning? I had some goji berry.
Oh, nice. I've never
Goji
had
berry.
that
I don't know. I
actually.
was feeling that. I mean, yeah, it doesn't take as much drawing, if it's
Hmm.
roots, you have to draw it, but
Yeah.
um you just throw some berries inside of some hot water and let it steep.
Hmm.
Yeah.
How do you decide which tea you're having in the morning? How we just get into the conversations, eh? Like we with
Yes,
my life,
that's
we
cool.
don't get off from. But what do you decide? How do you decide which tea you're gonna have in the morning?
How do I decide which tea I have in the well, so in the dawnings, most
Hmm.
times I'm not really thinking about food. I
Hmm.
try
Hmm.
to, or even teas. I'll take
Ah.
supplements, but I try to hold off a little bit. But sometimes if I get up very early and I'm, working and moving around,
Hmm.
most times, but
Hmm.
I'll decide depending on what I need for the day. So if I feel I
Mm.
need a refresher, a pick me up, and that makes sense for
Yes.
anyone.
Yes.
Um, Maybe I did some devotion in the dawning, and what
Mm.
came to me was, okay, maybe I need rosemary, so I'll probably stick with rosemary for the whole strong, or maybe
Mm.
it's some maca and some chocolate because I love grenadian cocoa, so I'll
Hmm.
make
Hmm.
some cocoa tea and just add some adaptogenic herb or something in there. So
Yes.
yeah.
Well, for me, I kind of talk to the ancestors. I'm like, what do y'all feel for today? So they kind of guide me as to, what they're in the mood. And then I check and see if I'm in the mood. And we kind of compromise because then I would just mix a brew.
Right.
And then at night, what I've started doing is having whatever I decide to have for tea, I put in chamomile in there because I haven't been sleeping well.
Hmm.
That's another story.
Chamomile.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I just dropped that in there. But darling, I am so grateful that you are with us this morning. I wanted to invite you here many weeks ago when I first started the live. You were one of the persons I wanted to talk to, but I
Right.
wanted to do it at the right time when we were getting closer into winter, autumn, winter, the changing season energy, because we're having a lot of discussion about what foods we really need to um, top up more as we get into this cold and flu season, as there may be another
Right.
possible quarantine, the blah blah blah, all of that. and
Well,
and then we met um in December at Make Manifest. They pop up.
yes,
Remember that?
yes,
And you
of
and
course.
you nourished me with your sorrel tea, because I've never had sorrel as a tea.
Yes.
And then you introduced me to cheesecake made with cashew nuts. And then there's this other sauce you had that was really, really, really good. And I can't remember what it is.
It was savory pumpkin pie.
Right.
Was
So
it yellow and made from, yeah, I think it
yes.
must have been that
Yes,
yellow.
yes, 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 yes,
If I could
yes.
remember. Because
Yes. So I
sometimes
need to order
I
that from
yeah.
you, because that was really good.
Okay.
So you're into raw foods. The name of your company is The Sovereign Eats.
We're actually Sovereign Eats. On
Sovereign
Instagram, we're
Eats.
the
The
Sovereign
Sovereign
Eats,
Eats.
but
Okay.
on
Sovereign Eats.
Instagram, but the business name is Sovereign Eats, and you can find us at www.sovereigneats.com.
Eats.com. Okay, great.
Yes.
Um, why raw food? Before we even get there, what is raw food?
Okay. Before I start, I
Uh-huh.
want to thank you for welcoming
Oh,
me into this space. And I
yes.
want to thank all of the participants, everyone who is
Yeah.
here. I want to big up all of your fans, your
Yeah.
followers, your family. I want to
Thank
big up
you.
my family as well, and those who came through,
Yes.
because, and they may not be here in the live, but I know they'll probably tune in later and be
Later
able
on.
to,
Yeah. They always do.
yes, feel that gratitude,
Mhm.
because yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to share and to
Mhm.
explain and go into raw food, because I know sometimes it can be um, maybe daunting for some.
Mhm.
There's also a lot of information out there on raw food, but
Mhm.
I think sometimes what holds people back is being connected to someone who has experience, has been there, and they can make it easy, because sometimes it can seem a little bit more complicated than it actually is.
Mhm. Mhm.
So raw food just really refers to nourishing, healing food. I'm going to put those at the forefront.
Mhm.
Nourishing and healing foods that are not cooked beyond around 116 degrees
Mhm.
Fahrenheit. So anything that you begin to heat or overheat, what happens is the enzymes and the active constituents in the food, that's the nutrients and minerals. Of course, some of them can withstand heat, but there are
Mhm.
many enzymes. If you cook them or heat them beyond a certain temperature, it minimizes their ability to function in the body as
Mhm.
they should.
Mhm.
I think one thing that is a problem right now is digestive issues and gut issues. And what people don't realize is you're cooking so much of your food that you're cooking out all of the enzymes.
Mhm.
And what enzymes do and prebiotics do from raw foods is that it feeds the gut microbiota.
Okay.
So, some of that is really important to consider. But yes, when we consider raw foods, they are uncooked foods, or
Mhm.
cooked or heated, I should say,
Mhm.
um, up to 116, that's about 46 degrees
Mhm.
Celsius. And you would include fruits and grains and nuts and veggies, of course.
Right.
It's a wide variety. Of course, when I speak of raw foods, I speak of plant-based raw
Mhm.
foods.
Okay.
I don't tend to utilize the word vegan, because I also understand there are many other forms of food that we can utilize for healing.
Mhm.
I tend to include honey, and some people have long debates about that. I refuse to. Honey is healing to the system and the body. We're using
Correct.
it.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I remember I used to see this doctor. For the life of me, I've been trying for months to remember his name. He was over here in St. Mark's, in Brooklyn. I'm acting like if everybody's in New York. And my mother back in Barbados, she had a beehive, an actual beehive. So the beekeeper used to come to the house and cut out, the honeycomb and take out the honey and da, da, da. And I brought him back an actual comb from the beehive, and he was just over the moon, and he actually started chewing the comb. He said, Simone, this is the real deal here. The honey is one thing, but the comb is a
The
different
cold.
experience for the body, right? And that's where I
Yeah.
really started to pay attention to honey and using it in my diet. Why should I know you mentioned folks having issues with the digestive system and with and gut issues. That is something I am currently experiencing. And I figured, okay, Simone, you're getting older, you're approaching the M phase, menopause.
Oh my goodness.
So so I'm like, okay, maybe this is what this whole change of life experience is. But it could be that or it could not be that. So I really had to pay attention to the food that I was eating and actually how I was cooking it, right? So why
Yeah.
should someone consider a raw food diet?
Why should they consider a raw food diet?
Mm-hmm.
So anything, especially when I work with clients or I speak to friends or anyone
Mm-hmm.
who always has people always have questions about raw food.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it comes down to what is your purpose?
Right.
What is the purpose for, I can tell you, oh, I can give you a good pitch. And I think people have been doing good raw food pitches for a very long time,
Time.
decades
Yeah.
now. It comes down when it comes down to the wire, it comes down to what is your purpose
Mm-hmm.
for desiring a shift into a raw vegan
Mm-hmm.
plant-based diet, a raw food plant-based diet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, are you doing it because you want to be healthy or function at a optimum healthy state? Are
Mm-hmm.
you doing it because you want to lose weight? Is
Mm-hmm.
it because you're trying to achieve the ultimate summer body? Because depending on if it's the ultimate summer body, you will lose that in a couple months, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's interesting. Science actually shows that when we start to restrict our food consumption, we'll notice that beautiful weight kind of drops off,
Mm-hmm.
but then we plateau. And many people get frustrated when they plateau from
Mm-hmm.
dieting and food restriction because what happens is the body it increases the amount of food that it consumes
Mm-hmm.
in small increments.
Okay.
So small that you don't even realize it, and by 2 months or 3 months after having lost all the weight, you gain it. So the body
Uh,
tricks us, the mind tricks us, our emotions and other things. It tricks you into reconsuming the same amount of food and you don't even realize it, especially if you're not journaling and so on.
mm-hmm.
So, to really answer your question, it really goes to your purpose, right?
Right.
And if your purpose is because you're trying to reverse an ailment, then you have no choice. I
Mm-hmm.
don't need to convince you, you
Mm-hmm.
have no choice
Choice.
because
Yeah.
it is the one way to support you if you want to work with whoever your practitioner is,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can reverse that issue. But the reason I would say that anyone should, consume a raw vegan diet or raw food plant-based diet is because of the retaining of the fighting inflammation, um, maintaining antioxidants,
Mm-hmm.
maintaining enzymes consistently in food, and it's lighter. When you
Yes.
eat cooked foods, you'll find that you are lethargic, you find that you're heavy, and you find that you consume more food.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it may not seem as if you're consuming more and more food, but what's happening is sometimes the nutrient count of cooked foods can be so low that you'll find yourself revisiting the pot or revisiting the refrigerator quite often
Mm-hmm.
throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
And our bodies are not made, we're not made to eat consistently throughout the day. If
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I mentioned to you is I really thought about talking about circadian cycles
Mm-hmm.
today
Mm-hmm.
because we might be the guzzler, we might be the fruitarian, the plant-based raw fooder, the
Mm-hmm.
grazer. There are all
Mm-hmm.
these different ways we can describe
Mm-hmm.
how we eat and what kind of eater we are.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really important to pay attention to when you're consuming certain foods and your
Mm-hmm.
heaviest foods, because those things play a critical role along with a raw vegan or raw plant-based diet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to focus on raw foods? Your personal story, if you don't mind sharing with us.
Right. Um, it's interesting. So a couple strongs ago, maybe up to about a month ago, actually,
Mm-hmm.
I on my blog post, my podcast, I was able to muster up the courage to share a little bit of my story
Mm-hmm.
about where and how and why I began that journey. But my journey began first when I was around 14, when I initiated transitioning into just a plant-based diet
At
um,
14?
at 14
Wow.
because because rebel with a cause. So
Mm-hmm.
because because at that moment I was introduced to food, what is called food and nutrition. I was born and reared in Grenada.
Spice
So
aisle.
in high school, yes, big up to the spice side. Thank you. Um, and once I started learning about nutrition, I realized that I didn't need to eat meat to access protein. I
Mm-hmm.
learned more about the building blocks of proteins and amino acids, much of what we all know today. But back then, it was it was crucial information.
Mm-hmm.
At
Mm-hmm.
least for me, it was.
Mm-hmm.
I was blown away. And at that moment, I was also at that around that time, I was also asking questions about the foods that I found that we ate consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't deny that they were non-GMO and they were organic foods, and they were good for us, but we consumed we did not consume a balanced diet, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some people may be familiar with what is called tripe, like
Mm-hmm.
pig intestine. I don't
Mm-hmm.
mean to be gross, but this is something that is consumed. And
Of
I'm not
course.
looking down on it um,
Mm-hmm.
right now out of respect for what you want to eat, but the
Mm-hmm.
truth is that is that's the trash. That's what other people would have thrown away, and we
Mm-hmm.
call it soul food, but we ate that because that's what was left
Mm-hmm.
after they took the prime parts of
Mm-hmm.
the animal. And so we call it soul food, but um, the truth is it is very much connected, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
to when we were at the boot under the boot heels of another race,
Correct.
and we utilize that as food.
Mm-hmm.
And so that has continued to be a tradition without anyone asking the question, well, why?
Mm-hmm.
So, I want to go in a little bit more about that, but not right now. Maybe I'll
Mm-hmm.
do some more about that on my podcast.
Yeah.
But I was exposed to that, and I started asking questions about the foods we ate, and I also was exposed to more information around nutrition
Mm-hmm.
and the building blocks again of all that we take in: foods, amino acids, enzymes. Those things were interesting to me. It
Mm-hmm.
was a form of chemistry. So I decided to experiment. I said, okay, I'll decide to include plant-based foods, and the hardest thing for me to transition from were cheeses. Um,
Yes,
but I
girl.
also I also found that around that time I had terrible cycles, Simone. It
Mm-hmm.
was really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I almost had crippling experiences. There were
Mm-hmm.
times when I wouldn't, leave school, or,
Mm-hmm.
someone would have to come and get me, and I would literally
Mm-hmm.
stay home. There were days I would mark off on my calendar, I'm staying home, because I know how dread and terrible the pain could be. So once I started my transition
Mm-hmm.
and I started to wean out meats and milk and so on, I noticed that there was the bleeding was not as profuse. The
Yes.
pain was, relieved,
Mm-hmm.
and I also noticed a shortening. So
Really?
yes, oh,
Mm-hmm.
definitely,
Mm-hmm.
definitely, it changed within months. So when not too long, a couple of years after I visited the United States, and I was introduced to a raw food family, and I was amazed because
Mm-hmm.
all the babies from
Mm-hmm.
5, 6, and up, everyone was raw. They
Mm-hmm.
were fruitarian prior to and they transition into just a raw plant-based. And
Mhm.
they showed me how to, and I decided to introduce it. Once I did, um, I found that my cycle actually became even shorter, and I had absolutely no pain. When people talk about PMS and those symptoms, those I had no PMS symptoms, those things disappeared.
Mhm.
I guess I could say that that's what it feels like to be regulated on a regular
Right.
cycle, menstrual cycle. Um, and it was really consistent. So that's where, long story short, and
Mhm.
there's so much more to it because, there's a lot in terms of utilizing certain drugs to actually remove the pain and dull the pain when I was younger.
Mhm.
So transitioning was really, it saved, I would say it saved me, you know.
I wish I had that understanding at 14 because I had bad periods at that time too. And I talked about my experience on a previous show, whereas my dad had to come and pick me up from school. It was that much pain, right? And he took me to the doctor, and she was, Joanne, she was like a family friend. And she told my dad, well, it's best to put Simone on birth control. And my father was like, hell no. Because, in his head, he's thinking about sex
Yes,
and not having a baby.
of
But he ain't thinking of the fact that, I'm in pain. So, and I took the food and nutrition class too, but we were more focused on, I guess I was more focused on, preparing the foods and the presentation, the whole Caribbean energy with that class.
yes, yes.
But when in my early 20s, I stopped eating chicken and red meat. I was only eating fish up until my late 30s. And my period changed completely. Completely. There was no pain, nothing. And it's then, I started by eating the meat and everything went downhill from there. So you're absolutely correct.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys have any questions, please put them in the comments and I'll get to them or send them privately. You guys know how to do this thing. We've been doing this now for a month. So just, send in your questions and let me know. How about children? How would one introduce raw food to their children and have them adapt to it um, in these times?
In
How
these
what
times.
Yeah, like with the McDonald's and the Wendy's, and not calling anybody's business out, but
Oh,
they're seeing all this activity where to go to McDonald's, for their friends is a treat, you
yes.
know? And I remember Queen Afua's son talking about, his mother preparing certain foods for him to take to school. While all the other kids were sick with the cold and the flu and whatever, he was still strong and they can understand what it is, all these sprouts and stuff that he was dealing with. So how would you suggest to a parent to introduce more a raw food system in with their children?
Right. So I am not a parent, but
Oh,
I would
neither am I.
say, I'm not a parent, but
Right.
ask me anything about, working with youth and so on. I've taught for 11 years, so I feel like I know the mind of the child. You have to do it first. You
Right.
introduce it to them by being the number one uh, advocate for it.
Right.
You show them so a couple years ago, I visited a family and had to do some raw food prep for, I think it's a reggae group. Um, I think one of the musicians passed away. But anyway, I noticed that the mother who was in the space where I was, she was feeding her son, and she put him sit down. She sat him down with his food, and he immediately pulled for a magazine and started propping up the magazine and was eating and flipping. Now, this has nothing to do with the food he was eating, but
Mhm.
the mannerism, the
Mhm.
behavior
Mhm.
that he engaged in while consuming his food. And I was awestruck. I was like, he's a little baby. He's probably a toddler, but he's there flipping this big magazine, doesn't know any of the words.
Mhm.
Um, about an hour after, she put she put him to play and she sat down to eat her food and did the same thing. What he was doing was emulating his mother. What he was
Mother.
doing was following
Yes.
that model that she created. Mothers are the maintainers of culture in the home. Mothers show every child, both the boys and girls, exactly what to do, how to live, and what to consume, and what is important for their bodies. So the first thing I'll say for any parent is to introduce it to yourself first. Don't try to introduce the whole family at the same time. You begin your journey first. And when you eat, you offer what you're consuming to them. Another
Oh.
easy way, yes, yes, and without forcing it down their throat, but at the same time, create a space in the home where they understand that you're calling the shots pretty much. And if you don't want to eat what's prepared, here's
Too
some
bad.
carrot sticks. So, right, too bad. Um, but at the same time, smoothies are a great way. Shakes are a great way to introduce it to them, but get them involved. See, youth, toddlers, youth, even teens, preteens, they want to know they created it. They want to know that they had a hand or they put some of their own energy into it. So give them an opportunity to actually be a part of the making of the smoothies. If you have teens who are just learning and just transitioning, create a little chore chart, and show them when they're responsible for food prep, and give them an opportunity to food prep something new. Create a Instagram challenge, I don't know, a TikTok challenge. I don't want to encourage the overuse of social media at all, but you do want to utilize ways and means of getting them involved. But they want to showcase what they can do as well. So
Right.
part of showcasing is to get get their own creations on social media. So that's one thing. If you're having a family event, encourage them to choose a dish that they want to create, or a dish that you've made in the home to recreate. And I'm speaking a plant-based raw dish. And I'm going off of these because it's the psychology behind it. We could talk about, oh yeah, let's get all the foods and all the recipes, but the truth is, you could have a recipe book sitting there and never use
You
it
never use
because
it.
it's the
Yeah.
mind. It's the mind first, and so you kind of work with the mind by making them feel as if they're quite involved and they're taking charge, and they have their contribution is extremely valuable. Um, but smoothies and shakes are really easy to introduce them to. Make sure that you include it as a dawning ritual. We say dawning, meaning morning ritual, um, and always have them involved in the making and the creating of those. You can introduce things like sorbets and ice creams as
Ah.
raw. Banana ice cream is big right now. They call it nice cream. But you have some frozen bananas, and you add frozen orange segments to it. Maybe some juiced ginger. Some children like the spiciness. And the ginger is also full of minerals and aids in digestion too. So it will definitely be a great way to open up the dawning or the day. Maybe some strawberries in there. And freeze everything and then blend in a very powerful blender. That's an easy ice cream. It's an easy sorbet that you can use with any child. I say making fruit cutouts all the time. So if you want to do a fruit platter, don't just cut them in squares. Cut some squares, get an ice cream scoop, and you can cut the watermelon in half and use the ice cream scoop, and you get
Those
balls,
balls.
little
Yeah.
balls.
Yeah.
Yes. You can use cookie cutters. If you cut the watermelon in large slices, you can use the cookie cutter to actually cut out different shapes. Just to make things interesting for them through the very simple use of fruit. That's one way that you could introduce raw. If you make, I know some people are into Sunday lunch, mac and cheese, things
Oh
like that.
yeah.
I'm not encouraging mac and cheese, just understand, but I am saying one way to introduce some raw is to incorporate raw, fresh spinach leaves, baby spinach leaves specifically, because they have high nutrient content and the taste is not as bitter as if you're utilizing the more mature.
Mm-hmm.
nutrient, spinach leaves. So just incorporating greens, chopped greens, fresh veggies into foods, and then transitioning them into doing like a two-course meal. So you'll have a
Okay.
salad always, and then you introduce whatever food that you've prepared. I don't know. Hopefully these things are helpful, but there's
Of
so many
course they are.
different ways of to introduce raw to children. And it's not just, don't just think, okay, I have to make a raw pie and that's it, or have to make a raw
Mm-hmm.
quiche. You may not be there yet. They may not be ready for the strong flavors of a raw
Mm-hmm.
quiche, but they may be ready for, a little salad with some of the things that they like in it. So that way
Mm-hmm.
they're consuming more greens. The objective is to get them to consume more
More
fresh
greens.
fruits and
Greens.
veggies and
Yeah.
greens. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Um, so we have a question. We have two questions from
Sorry.
Carmel Beauty. That's okay. What exactly would you recommend as the best diet to help with difficult periods and overall health? I guess with the best foods should be the question for a difficult
Right.
period. Yeah.
Yes, no, definitely. And if you wanted to, respond, go ahead.
No, no, you.
Because I didn't
That
know.
was for
Oh,
your. That's
okay.
your.
I
Yeah,
did.
all questions are for
That's
you.
my question.
I just
Okay.
ask the questions and that I get from the audience, and it's for you to answer. Oh no,
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 that's
no.
fine.
Uh-huh.
Okay. No, I didn't. I wasn't sure if I cut you off. I
No, 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 no,
apologize. I
no.
just.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Yes, you're right. It is really about the type of foods that you
Mm-hmm.
consume and the restricting of foods. But it also includes the type of behaviors or mannerisms that you incorporate or the regimens. So, and I'm saying regimens, we're doing a fast. I'm doing a fast right now. It's just 3 days. But before I even talk about the different types of foods, I want to talk about the different types of things that you can do to alleviate some of that. Fasting is an excellent way to flush your system and ease your body from having to go through all of that elimination and working on all of the trying to attempting to assimilate dairy and pastas and heavy carbs and so on that we may consume. So fasting is very helpful to kind of give your body some time to flush. And
Mm-hmm.
during that time, you want to drink a lot of water, or you can do juices. An excellent juice would be to incorporate parsley with cucumber and maybe even zucchini. I like to add lettuce to that because lettuce helps to bulk it up. The water from the lettuce helps to bulk it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Making sure that even though you're juicing, I always suggest if you are having issues with, just feminine issues with your womb and growths and so on, or just again regulating the period, one of the best things is to blend those juices so that way you get the
Mm-hmm.
roughage and the fiber, but it also, if you're adding things like beet that can be sweet, what it will do is the fiber will help to release the sugar slowly into your bloodstream. So there isn't too
Oh,
much.
okay.
Yes. And sugars can feed some of those growths as well. So you want to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the diet.
Yes.
The diet regimen that you utilize, it's based on what works for you. Everybody's body and body composition is very different. And it's different because we're walking, living vessels of microbes and,
Mm-hmm.
or, little tiny organisms. Our body is this very interesting network of microorganisms that we can't see, but they're all working in conjunction with each other. My gut flora and my gut network is very different from yours. Um, I find it. I've heard scientists actually refer to it as if it's fingerprints
Mm-hmm.
because it is so different. So what I can consume and easily digest may be different for you. So a raw plant-based diet may not be what is optimum for you
Mm-hmm.
depending on your level of enzymes and gut microbiota and gut flora. So
Right.
you want to, if you're trying out different diets to see which one works, which is what I suggest, you have a journal. And with your journal, you utilize, you just jot down how each of the diets affect your system or your body.
Mhm.
So that way you know what is best for you. That's the only thing I can suggest in terms of trying to identify which is the best diet. I am not a nutritionist.
Mhm.
The most I can do is support you through the process of, identifying what is the best diet for you. Um, some people may jump to raw and they may consume lots of nuts and seeds. And that may be the one issue. And they'll throw out the whole raw food regimen or lifestyle because they weren't able to identify what was the underlying issue or what food
Mhm.
in the whole dietary regimen was giving them a problem.
Right.
So you really have to be, when you're deciding on the type of dietary lifestyle you want to include, you have to make sure you do journaling and you experiment. You really do, because your body speaks to you. It tells you what it is it needs, and it also tells you which foods it will reject or which diets it will reject.
Right.
Some people can consume meats and they're fine. They're functioning well until, you know, 30 years in, 40 years
Is
in, and they
in, yeah.
realize there's a problem,
Yeah.
right? And the same is true for people who are 100% raw. I have witnessed, there's a doctor who I follow, and I've witnessed him transition from 100% raw, and he's now including other foods in his diet because he realizes raw food is a way to flush your system.
Mhm.
It is a detoxing regimen.
Mhm.
So if you're going to do 100% raw, you'll find that your body and your body always detoxes.
Mhm.
But what it does is, if it has not been detoxing for a while because of the foods you've eaten, and
Mhm.
your body is having, like, your kidneys and liver, they're having issues actually doing the work of flushing the system and detoxing, then you are going to have to detox for a period of time, would be to revert to a raw diet.
A raw diet.
A
All
raw,
right.
a raw diet. A raw
Okay.
diet.
We have another question um, from, okay. All right. So Carmel Beauty is asking, do you have a forum where you can show us how to prepare these raw foods? So tell us, that would lead into my like a zillion and one more questions that I have for you actually, but
Yes. Okay.
that
I'll try to go much faster.
that leads me into um another question I had of what services do you offer to help
Right.
folks who are interested in going into a raw food diet? How can you help them with that?
So we have, you can go to sovereigneats.com, and there are two different, so we have packages as well
Hmm.
as just, consultations.
Right.
I like to offer people an opportunity to have one-on-one dialogue with me for a very brief period of time, so you know what you're getting into, because it's very purpose driven.
Right.
It isn't made to just waste your time. It's really made to make sure that you are successful.
Hmm.
So we offer one-on-one consultations, um, and also I've included family consultations if you want to do a raw vegan transition. So
Hmm.
raw vegan transitioning is one option or one consultation that can happen. It can be one-on-one, or I
Hmm.
also offer full family. So everyone sits down with me and we have a conversation. If you have youth or small babies or toddlers, we get to have more dialogue about how you can introduce that appropriately to them,
Right.
as well as maintain your own transition as well.
Hmm.
I also offer the opportunity for those who need a package system to transition. So it wouldn't be one call. It can be over a month or over a 3-month period, depending on your goal and your
Hmm.
purpose, right? If you're
Hmm.
you trying to utilize raw food as a food regimen to support um, recovery from some sort of ailment, I want to select my words properly, you're going to need a longer period of time.
Right.
And so I offer a package of a 1 month or 3 months for you so that you can learn raw food completely and in its entirety, so that when I step away,
You
you're
can
very
continue on your own.
independent.
Hmm.
Yes, you can continue. You're independent. You don't have to rely on me consistently, and you're fully motivated and inspired. Because I know sometimes that can be the issue too. It's
Yeah.
the inspiration to continue and to maintain that. So those are some of the consultations and packages. We also offer workshops. So if someone is interested, they may not want a consultation, but they want to learn how to create cheeses or cheesecakes. That's something that you can actually um, ask for. That's on the website again. There
Hmm.
are two drop down menus. There's one section for appointments, and the other section includes a section for packages and workshops and so on. I also offer, since times are shifting a little bit, so I can't necessarily go into people's homes, but I also offer pantry revamp, I call it. So if you need someone to go shopping with you to show you where to find all of the best supplements, where to how to rearrange and ignite your food prep skills by revamping your pantry, removing all of what's in there, looking at the different foods and how they're harmful, and
Hmm.
finding substitutes and appropriate alternatives. That's something that I offer as well.
Okay.
I
I
think that's
I I want to go back to, before I go to the next question. When I first approached you about doing this live with me, you said to me something along the lines, but Simone, where you're more spiritual based with
yes,
your conversations. How does raw food fit in? But the good thing about that, and this is how spirituality works, is when I'm doing my spiritual readings, spirits will come and tell the individual, you need to change your diet. Right? That 9 times out of 10 that happens in the readings, and they sometimes are able to pinpoint what the person needs to not do and what they
yes,
need to do. And I remember an example of this was a time I was reading a young lady, and the spirit told me to tell her she needed to add lemon to her water, right?
right,
And I was like, okay, well, spirit is saying you need to add lemon to your water. So we were talking to her, and then she came and she said, well, Simone, that lemon water thing is a bit scary because I'm allergic to acid, anything acidic, oranges, or I'm allergic to stuff like that. So I was
right,
like, well, I don't know what to tell you, but the spirit said you need to add lemon to your water. But then come to find out, when you drink the lemon water and it goes into your system, it becomes alkaline, right?
yes,
So
yes,
that was a learning experience for me that I really need to pay attention to, even though I'm given this information via a reading
yes,
to a client. I also need to go back to and revisit or do my own research as to why spirit is telling someone about these things, about the change of diet. And one of these, some of the things that always come up, they need to drink more water, they need to cut out the dairy. Those are the two main
yes.
things that always comes up when when the idea of diet is discussed in one of my spiritual readings. So let's go back to another question.
Can I just,
Sure.
someone says that there's some feedback, so I'm not sure where it's coming from and if there still
Oh,
is feedback from you maybe. I know if depending on the type of room you are
yeah.
in, it could give feedback. So
All right, let
I'm
me
not sure.
see
I
if
hope
I
it's not
use,
me.
let me see if I don't use headset, if it's better. Is that better? Wait, I'm hearing it now
Yes.
actually.
Yeah. If anyone in the chat can hear, just let us know if Simone sounds better, please.
Yeah, it's my headset. Is it better?
It's your head. Oh, okay.
I'm
Yes, it's
thinking,
much better. Thumbs up everywhere. Yeah.
okay. All right, so just
Yeah.
keep me posted.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, good. I wanted to just speak a little bit on that because it's true.
Yeah.
That's really crucial, even for the person who's giving spiritual readings. Here's the thing that I want to charge every woman in this room to do. As women, we maintain culture. we also pass down a lot of knowledge about domestics and healing and food. I charge you that you should not have to sit in a reading for someone to say to you, these are the foods that you should be consuming. This is how you feed your body, right? If that's happening, then it means you're in dire straits and you need another red flag because there were red flags going
Before, before, exactly,
before.
exactly.
It's crucial.
Yeah,
Lemon water is very simple and it's something that should be known. And please take it with a loving word song. This is a loving word song. And because I'm passionate about women just knowing how to be able to feed their families, you should be able to walk up on any bus stop and if you see someone falling out, be able to know what to do instantly. I'm not saying you're a medic. I'm not saying that you should go put yourself in harm's way for a lawsuit, but I'm saying you should be able to support anyone who is going through something. Maybe they're having a headache. You should know mudras. You should know different points on the hand that a person can press to alleviate a headache. If someone is fainting, you should know you should be able to reach into your purse and reach out and give them something, a spritz of peppermint or something that they can inhale to revitalize them. But they and let's talk about your own family. If your child has an ailment, stomach ailment, or they're trying to get over a cold, you should have learned, if it means you have to go online and research it and then, create a plan, right? But we should all have herbal kits and emergency kits prepared and ready if anything goes down in the home. So
yes,
that's something I just wanted to say that just that little bit that that's really crucial as women that we're able to do that so we can pass it on to others.
yeah, yeah. Even the simple things that comes up in the reading as well, people's skin issues. It's amazing to me how spirit
Right.
works, huh? Because half of these people I've never met, and some of them they reach out to me via Instagram, and folks don't. I, their accounts are private, and I don't follow them just to keep the experience
Yes.
as authentic as possible. But a lot of times, too, women talk about skin issues, you know, and I
Yes.
ask them, well, how is your elimination? Are you drinking enough water? Are you peeing enough? Are you doing the number two enough? Are you getting enough sunlight? Are you sleeping enough at night or during the day, whichever time that you're supposed to get your sleep? But that's another situation that alongside the fibroids, the bad periods, etc., skin issues was another
Skin
problem
issues.
that always comes up in spiritual readings with women.
Yes. I mean, it's inside, it's internal.
Yeah,
Hair, nails,
yes,
skin,
yes,
down to eyesight, it's
yes.
internal. So it starts from within. And, everything isn't just about food, but a lot of our wellness and the way, we physically present
Mhm.
is dependent on what we consume. And I'm not just talking about physical food, but spiritual food. Are you
Yeah,
making connections with Yah? Are you getting up early in the dawning and connecting with the Most High Creator? Are you distancing yourself from that and only focused on the physical food? Well, even if you only focus on the physical food, you're going to lack spiritual food. So
yeah.
it has to be a balance.
Balance.
Both must be in
Correct,
balance.
correct.
Yes.
Okay,
And
Laura, let me,
Deidre Sully mentions that it is cheaper in the long run to be proactive about our health. And that's really, for public health, that's really
very
crucial.
important. Yeah, for real. All right, let me get to another question. Red Rap is asking, what are good methods to break fast to transition to raw or plant-based?
So a good method to break your fast. We're gonna have a live, so I hope you join us
Yeah, yeah,
on.
yeah.
I
No,
will let
no,
you all
no.
join us on our
That's why
following
we're switching
live.
over to what?
But
Mhm. Go ahead.
a great way to do that would be to open up your fast with a mono fruit meal. So a mono fruit meal versus a mono fruit diet. You could do a mono fruit diet, meaning all day all you consume is the same fruit. So let's say you chose grapes. then you can open up or close out your fast, sorry, or open your fast as well with a mono fruit diet. So all day you're going to consume grapes. Of course, if you're following circadian rhythm cycles, you want to make sure you're consuming between 12 and 4, ideally, because anything beyond or after 4, those it is very difficult for the body to assimilate that food and also help you to maintain optimum weight levels. So your body will literally take on that food and it will store it as fat as opposed to assimilating it and then helping to maintain and regulate um, your optimum weight. And I don't know why it does that. I'm still doing more research, like reading up on other people's research to find out why. But that's best. And or you can do a fruit mono meal, which is one meal consists of one fruit. So if I'm eating at, let's say, 11 or 12 in the dawning to break my fast or to open up my fast, I will have only cantaloupe then. And then if I'm having a second meal, most time I try to consume just one meal per day. That's best. But if you do have a second meal, your second meal will be another fruit. They could be berries. You could eat 3 pints of berries if you like. You could have a berry smoothie, but it's the focus is one meal, so you ease your digestive system back into consuming foods slowly.
Okay. I have like a zillion and more questions for you.
Go ahead. I mean, we have
But
9 minutes.
no,
I don't know how the
I
time
want to
went so
give time
quickly.
because it's already 10:50 and I know you have to prepare for your life. So tell us about what to expect on your because guys, once we're finished here, I'm going to give her some time to prep. We're going to head over to her page. I have it pinned here in the comments. The sovereign at
Yes.
the sovereign eats, and she is going to discuss. Tell us.
So today, less of discussion. I want to invite everyone who has fasted before or is interested in learning about fasting, and also the members of the New Life Global Ministry community, if they are present, jump in and share a little bit about your progress during the fast. It's a 3-day fast, and so I really just want to share my progress during this 3-day fast and also open up the floor for any participants to share for themselves because I know people love to share. They want to get in on the conversation as well too. So I'm going to open up a space for anyone who wants to join and share, and we'll move through all of the participants if everyone wants to share. You can also ask some more of your questions there too. I'll be happy to answer them. I'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah. And,
And thank you again. I really appreciate you. And I have to say, give thanks, just give thanks for those who are here and present. It's
yeah.
a
And
beautiful experience.
it shows us being here and Corinne Drops just joined us. Hi darling. Love to you. And it
Greetings.
shows the importance of spaces like Make Manifest, right?
Yes,
Because that's where we met and that's where we connected.
true.
And almost a year later, we've maintained that connection and now look where we are. So it just goes to show that these small community-based spaces and organizations that support small businesses, especially small businesses owned by women of color, is needed and it is important because that is what brought us together. Excuse me, but the spirit is moving in me. That's what brought us together. And that is what is maintaining our community. Your information, the way how you're feeding the community and advising the community how to eat and consume their food. And I'm really appreciative of the work that you're doing. And I still have to get
Thank you. You still have to get your, I didn't hear
my
that.
thoughts.
Your what? Your sauce.
Yes.
I, I want to jump on that gratitude bandwagon because I really have to say express as well too. I actually met saccharin drops
Mhm.
at a Make Manifest vending event when they were at a mansion, I believe. So that's how, and that wasn't very, very long ago, but I always grateful because I've had a lot of vending opportunities with Make Manifest,
Yeah.
and I find myself meeting and being introduced to a lot of, just beautiful people. People are doing the work in different ministries, different movements, different communities, but it's a network. So
Yes.
it's beautiful to be able to meet and connect with everyone. I see some of my Anu sisters. Can I just
Sure.
big them up and hail them up? Yes, I see Sister Deidre Sully, big up, thank you. Sister Kashia, I have to say greetings, thank you. And I see Akuya. I really appreciate your that you all are joining us here.
Yeah.
And thank you to all of your participants. It's good to be in this space.
Yeah,
Thank you.
isn't it? Isn't it? And I want to thank your followers for coming on and, just bring great energy into this space. I'm going to have you back because we didn't get to talk about
Thank you.
the best time to eat, what's the best
Right.
foods to put together to make your experience of transitioning to a raw diet as pleasant or seamless as possible. When you
Right.
have a collapse or a fallback or a delay or whatever in your experience, how
What
do
to
you
do?
bring yourself back up to move forward? And these are conversations, and I'm not disputing that men don't also need this information, but women, as the bearers of life and creation, and although you and I, we don't have any children, but we are aunties to how many other children out there are godmothers to them, and we still need them to pass on this information. So I'm going to have you back for sure. And one of my dreams is once this thing is over, or sick, whatever we want to call it, that we can actually be in a kitchen and go live and prepare an actual meal. I think that would be so exciting. But I've done that before. All I do is be dipping and eating the food. The
Right.
person
Well,
is
I mean,
preparing it.
eat eating is good, but I can't right now because I'm fasting.
Yeah. Okay. So
But yes, we'll prepare. Some of that is in the works, and because I should have actually some videos, and I have been posting videos. So to all of those who are participants and are followers of Reading Simone, you can go to our YouTube page or my IG Live because and we have podcasts as well on the sovereigneats.com website that you can access
right.
as well. But I'm willing to come back.
Yes. So Red Rat,
Yes.
you have a question. You have another question. You just go over. She's going to go live at 11 o'clock, and she has a few minutes,
Yes. In
right?
2 minutes.
And then you can
Okay.
answer all the questions over there. Thank you, darling. It was nice having
Thank you
you,
so
and
much.
we will be in
Yes.
touch. Okay. Have a great one.
Yes.
Have a great life, and I'll see
Thank
you on
you.
the other
Peace.
side.
All right. Give
Okay.
thanks.
Peace. Okay. Bye bye.
Peace.